Captain Daewon Kim stood at the command center of the Earthship Harmony. He looked out at the stars through the main window. His ship was part of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Their job was to meet new alien species and make friends for Earth. Today was supposed to be a good day. The Harmony had made contact with a new alien group called the Vexari Federation, and they had seemed friendly. Daewon was a tall man with short black hair. He had been a captain for 15 years. In all that time, he had never had a mission go so wrong so fast. "Captain, the Vexari ships are surrounding the Bright Future," said Officer Lee from his station. His voice was tense. The Bright Future was the smallest ship in their fleet. It was an education vessel. 20 human students between the ages of 15 and 17 were on board, along with 4 teachers. The ship was part of Earth's space education program, which let top students witness important moments in space history. "Open communication channel to the Vexari flagship," Daewon ordered. The main screen lit up, showing the Vexari ambassador. The aliens were tall with blue-green skin. They had 4 arms and large eyes that looked like they were made of many small parts put together. Ambassador Tislix moved his mouthparts in what Daewon now understood was a sign of anger. "Captain Kim," the alien's voice came through the translator, "you have broken Vexari law. You brought young ones to a dangerous first meeting. This is not allowed." Daewon tried to stay calm. "Ambassador Tislix, the students on the Bright Future are here as part of our education program. They are perfectly safe and well protected. Our scans show these are not adult humans," Tislix cut him off. "They are clearly in development stage. Bringing such young to an unknown situation is reckless by any standard." First Officer Sujin Park stepped up beside Daewon. She was shorter than him, with her black hair tied back neatly. Her eyes showed worry, but her voice stayed steady. "Ambassador, please understand. In human culture, we value education through real experience. These students are the best from their schools. This trip is an honor for them." On the screen behind Tislix, Daewon could see Vexari security forces. They wore dark armor and carried what looked like weapons. This was not good. "Your cultural practices do not change Vexari security rules," Tislix said. "We are boarding the vessel with the young ones now. They will be taken into protective care." "Ambassador, wait!" Daewon shouted. But the screen went black. "Captain, Vexari ships have locked onto the Bright Future with tractor beams," Officer Lee reported. "They've also sent boarding parties. Our sensors show 20 Vexari security officers have entered the ship." "Contact the Bright Future," Daewon ordered. "I need to speak with Captain Hana." The screen showed the inside of the Bright Future's command room. Captain Jihoon Hana looked stressed. Behind him, Vexari security officers were leading students away. "Daewon, they just came in. They said they're taking the students into protective custody," I tried to explain. A Vexari officer pushed Captain Hana aside. "This vessel is now under Vexari Protection Authority. The young ones will be taken to safe facilities. The adults will be questioned about this endangerment." The screen went black again. Daewon turned to Sujin. "This is bad. They think we're endangering our own children by bringing them on a diplomatic mission." Sujin nodded. "The Vexari must have very different ways of raising their young. We need to understand their concerns while making them understand our ways." "Captain," a voice called from across the bridge. It was Communications Officer Minho. "We're getting a message from Earth Central Command. They want an update on the situation." Daewon sighed. This was about to become a much bigger problem. "Tell them we have a serious cultural misunderstanding. The Vexari have taken our students into what they call protective custody because they believe we endangered them by bringing them on this mission." 4 hours later, Daewon and Sujin stood in a meeting room on the main Vexari station. The room was large with strange blue lights. The air smelled like salt water. 3 Vexari officials sat across from them at a long table. "Let me explain one more time," Daewon said, trying to keep his voice calm. "On Earth, we believe in teaching through real experience. Those students were selected because they are exceptionally smart and well-behaved. This trip was a special honor for them." The main Vexari official, Director Kraz, made a clicking sound with his mouthparts. "Captain Kim, in Vexari society, our young do not leave special protected areas until they are fully mature. To see such young humans on a possibly dangerous mission is shocking to us. Sujin leaned forward. Director, where are the students? Now? Are they together? Can we see them? The young ones are in our juvenile care facility, Director Kraz said. They are separated for optimal care based on our protocols. Each has a private room with all necessary provisions. Separated? Daewon felt his heart sink. You've separated them from each other and their teachers? Of course, said another Vexari official. Group housing increases stress for developing minds. Each young one has a care specialist assigned. Daewon tried to keep his growing anger in check. Director Kraz, human children are social beings. Keeping them isolated from familiar faces will cause them great stress. Please, you must let them be together, at least with their teachers. Our care protocols are based on extensive research, Director Kraz said firmly. The young ones will remain in protective custody for the standard assessment period of 30 solar cycles. 30 cycles? Sujin gasped. That's nearly a month in Earth time. This is completely unacceptable. Director Kraz stood up. This meeting is over. You may visit the young ones once per day, one at a time for 20 minutes each. This is a generous allowance. After the Vexari officials left, Daewon and Sujin remained in the room. This is a disaster, Daewon said quietly. They've taken 20 human teenagers into custody and separated them from each other. Some of these kids have never even been away from home before this trip. Sujin checked her data pad. I've been going through the student files. Daewon, one of the students is Min-Soo Lee, daughter of Earth Alliance Council member Jun-Ho Lee. Daewon looked at her in shock. The daughter of a council member? This just became a potential diplomatic crisis. Sujin nodded. We need to contact Earth immediately. Council member Lee needs to know his daughter is being held by aliens who think we're bad parents. The Vexari have no idea what they've done, Daewon said, shaking his head. They think they're protecting human children. Instead, they've just made the biggest mistake possible. When humans think their children are threatened, Sujin finished his thought. Nothing in the galaxy is more dangerous. 3 days had passed since the Vexari took the human students. Captain Daewon Kim walked back and forth in his private room on the Earth ship Harmony. The ship was not allowed to leave Vexari space. It was stuck here, just like the education ship Bright Future. Daewon had not slept well for days. The screen on his wall lit up. The face of Admiral Jin-Ho Kang appeared. He was the head of Earth Central Command, and he did not look happy. Captain Kim, give me your report, Admiral Kang said. His voice was deep and serious. Daewon stopped pacing. Admiral, we visit the students daily as the Vexari allow. They are physically okay. They have food, water, and comfortable rooms. But they are alone. Each student is kept separate from the others. They only see Vexari caretakers and us during our short visits. How are they handling it? Some are doing better than others. The older ones understand it's a cultural misunderstanding, but 3 of the younger students have been crying during visits. They feel scared and alone. Daewon's fists tightened. The Vexari think they are helping, but they're causing harm. The door opened and First Officer Sujin Park entered. She carried a data pad and looked tired. Sujin had been working day and night to solve this problem. Admiral Kang, she said with a small bow to the screen. I have tried every diplomatic approach possible. I have explained human education practices. I have shown them studies about human social development. I have even offered to let them inspect our ships to see our safety measures. They dismiss everything as primitive or inadequate. Admiral Kang's face grew darker. We have a serious political situation developing on Earth. Council member Lee is demanding action. The families of the other students are joining him. The news has spread and people are angry. What about the Galactic Council? Daewon asked. Can they help? Admiral Kang shook his head. The Galactic Council says the Vexari are following their own laws. They suggest we try to understand the Vexari point of view. They offer mediation, but that could take weeks. Weeks? Sujin said in shock. The students can't stay isolated that long. It's not healthy for human teenagers. Did you tell the Vexari who Min-Soo Lee's father is? Daewon asked. Yes, Sujin replied. They said all young ones receive equal protection under their law. They don't care about her father's position. Admiral Kang leaned closer to the screen. Captain, we're running out of diplomatic options. Earth Alliance is considering stronger measures. Daewon felt cold. What kind of measures, sir? A special operations team could extract the students, Admiral Kang said quietly. We have ships positioned 2 jumps away. A rescue mission? Sujin asked, alarmed. That could start a war. Admiral Kang nodded. Which is why we need a breakthrough in the next 48 hours. Keep trying, Captain. Find a way to make them understand. After the Admiral ended the call, Daewon sat heavily in his chair. This is getting worse. If Earth sends in a military team, it could damage relations with many species, not just the Vexari. Sujin set her datapad on the table. I've been doing research on Vexari biology and culture. Their young stay in special protective bubbles for the first 5 years of life. They only interact with their birth parents through special gloves. No other adults are allowed near them until they're nearly mature. No wonder they think we're terrible, Daewon said. To them, our normal practices look like child endangerment. We need someone they'll listen to, Sujin said. Someone they respect. The next morning, Daewon and Sujin were allowed to visit the student holding area. The Vexari Juvenile Care Facility was clean and bright. Each student had a private room with a bed, desk, and washroom. The walls were a soft blue color that Vexari studies said was calming, but to human eyes it looked like a prison. Daewon was allowed to visit Min-Soo Lee, the council member's daughter. She was 16, with short black hair and intelligent eyes. When Daewon entered her room, she stood up straight, trying to look brave. Captain Kim, she said. Is there any news? Are they letting us go soon? Daewon wished he had better news. We're working on it, Min-Soo. How are you doing? Min-Soo's brave face cracked a little. I'm okay. The Vexari caretaker is nice. She brings me books and shows me how to use their computer. But I miss my friends. I miss Teacher Song. It's too quiet. Here. Have they been treating you well? Daewon asked. Yes. The food is strange, but not bad. They keep asking me if I feel safe, Min-Soo said. I told them I felt safe on the bright future too, but they don't believe me. Daewon sat down across from her. Min-Soo, I need you to be strong for a little longer. Your father knows what's happening. We're doing everything we can. Min-Soo looked at her hands. My father must be very angry. He is concerned, Daewon said carefully. Everyone is. Min-Soo looked up, her eyes suddenly sharp. Captain, I've been thinking. The Vexari keep asking me about human child-rearing practices. They seem truly confused about why we would be allowed on this trip. I think they really believe they're helping us. That's true, Daewon said. This isn't malice. It's a deep cultural misunderstanding. Then we need someone the Vexari will listen to, Min-Soo said. Someone they respect who understands humans better. Daewon was surprised. This young student had reached the same conclusion as Sujin. Before he could respond, a Vexari attendant entered. Visitation time is complete. As Daewon left the facility, he saw Sujin waiting with an excited look on her face. Daewon, something's happening, she said as they walked back to their ship. We just received a message from a Midorian vessel. They're on their way here. Daewon stopped walking. The Midorians, they never get involved in the affairs of younger species. The Midorians were one of the oldest species in the known galaxy. They were small beings with silver-white hair and ancient eyes. They rarely interfered with other species, preferring to observe and study. Their message said they're coming about the human children, Sujin continued. They'll arrive tomorrow. Back on the Harmony, Daewon and Sujin called Admiral Kang with the news. The Midorians. The Admiral looked surprised. We didn't contact them. No, sir, Daewon said. They contacted us. They said they're coming about the detained human children. This is unexpected, Admiral Kang said. The Midorians have had relations with Earth for about 80 years, but they're very private. They must have learned about this situation somehow. Will, You delay any rescue plans? Sujin asked carefully. Admiral Kang nodded. Yes. Let's see what the Midorians have to say. They're respected throughout the galaxy. Even the Vexari would listen to them. The next day, a large Midorian ship appeared near the Vexari station. It was beautiful, with sleek lines that seemed to flow like water. It was much bigger than the Harmony. A message came to the Harmony. A soft voice spoke. Captain Kim, this is Elder June of the Midorian Alliance. I request your presence at our meeting with the Vexari. This situation with the human children must be resolved. Daewon felt hope for the first time in days. We would be honored, Elder Jun. Sujin looked at the Midorian ship on the screen. Why would they care about human children? Daewon shook his head. I don't know, but whatever the reason, I'm grateful they're here. The Midorian ship called Ancestral Wisdom was the largest vessel Captain Daewon Kim had ever seen up close. It made both the Earthship Harmony and the Vexari station look small in comparison. As Daewon and First Officer Sujin prepared to meet with the Midorians, they felt a mix of hope and confusion. Why would the Midorians care about human children? Sujin asked as they walked to the docking area. They rarely get involved in anything. Daewon shook his head. I don't know, but right now I'm just grateful they're here. The airlock doors opened. Standing there was a small being with silver-white hair and deeply lined skin. Elder Jun of the Midorian Alliance stood only about 5 feet tall, but there was something about the elder that made both humans feel very young. Captain Kim, Officer Park, Elder Jun said in a gentle voice. Thank you for meeting me. Daewon bowed slightly. Thank you for coming, Elder. We're surprised but very grateful. Elder Jun's eyes were the most striking feature of the Midorian's face. They were dark blue with small lights that seemed to swirl like stars. Those ancient eyes studied the two humans carefully. The detention of human children is a serious matter, Elder Jun said. The Midorian Alliance has observed humanity for many cycles. We have special knowledge that may help in this situation. Sujin looked confused. Special knowledge about humans? Elder Jun nodded. About humans and their young. Please let us proceed to the Vexari diplomatic chamber. I have requested an immediate audience with Ambassador Tislix and the Vexari High Council. As they walked through the station, Vexari officials moved quickly out of their way. The Midorians were clearly respected, perhaps even feared. Daewon noticed that many Vexari seemed surprised to see the Midorians with humans. They entered the large diplomatic chamber. Ambassador Tislix and 5 other Vexari officials sat at a curved table. They stood when Elder Jun entered. Elder Jun of the Midorian Alliance, Ambassador Tislix said, his forearms moving in what seemed to be a sign of respect. This is an unexpected honor. The Vexari Federation welcomes you. Elder Jun moved slowly to the center of the room. Though small in size, the elder seemed to fill the space with a powerful presence. Ambassador Tislix, Elder Jun began, voice quiet yet clear. The Midorian Alliance has learned that you are holding human juveniles in protective custody. Is this correct? Tislix's mouth parts moved nervously. Yes, Elder. We found these juveniles on a diplomatic vessel. They were brought into a potentially dangerous first contact situation. Under Vexari law, this is considered negligent exposure of the young. We are simply ensuring their safety. Elder Jun was silent for a moment. The quiet in the room grew heavy. Then the elder spoke, still quietly, but with an edge that made everyone pay attention. Ambassador Tislix, how much do the Vexari know about humans? Tislix seemed confused by the question. We have studied the information provided by Earth's diplomatic corps. We know they are a young spacefaring species with promising technology. But, do you know about their protective instincts regarding their young? Elder Jun asked. Before Tislix could answer, Elder Jun raised a small hand. The center of the room filled with a holographic image. It showed a human mother lifting a ground vehicle that had fallen on her child. This is not a rare occurrence, Elder Jun said. Humans can perform physical feats beyond their normal capabilities when their young are threatened. The image changed, to show a human running into a burning building to save a child. Humans will risk death to protect not only their own offspring but any juvenile of their species, Elder Jun continued. The images kept changing. They showed humans fighting, humans building walls, humans creating weapons, humans making medicines, all to protect their children. Elder Jun's voice grew stronger. The Midorian Alliance first encountered humans 80 cycles ago. We too made assumptions about their protective practices. Sujin noticed that some of the Vexari were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. You detained human children? Elder Jun suddenly shouted, voice filling the entire chamber. Are you insane? The outburst shocked everyone. The Midorians were known throughout the galaxy for their calm and measured responses. Daewon had never heard of a Midorian raising their voice. Ambassador Tislix's compound eyes widened. The other Vexari officials leaned back in their seats. Elder Jun, Tislix said carefully, we are simply following our protection protocols. Your protocols, Elder Jun interrupted, voice once again quiet but intense, are based on Vexari biology and psychology. They are not applicable to humans. Elder Jun waved a hand and new images appeared. These showed brain scans, comparing Vexari and human brains. Vexari young develop in isolation for the early years of life. Human young develop through social interaction and guided exposure to new experiences. Elder Jun pointed to the brain scans. See how the neural pathways form differently? What you perceive as danger, they perceive as growth. Sujin stepped forward, adding to the elder's explanation. On Earth, our educational practices include experiential learning. Those students were specifically selected for this mission as a special honor. They were never in any danger. A female Vexari official spoke up. But they are so young. In Vexari terms, they would still be in the sheltered development stage. Humans mature differently, Elder Jun explained. Their physical, emotional, and intellectual development does not follow Vexari patterns. The holographic display changed again. Now it showed historical footage of human military responses to hostage situations throughout Earth's history. The images were concerning. Humans using extreme force to rescue their young. Perhaps, Elder Jun said, voice very serious, the Vexari Federation is unaware of humanity's historical response when their young are threatened. The room was completely silent. The Vexari officials stared at the images with what looked like growing concern. These students you are holding, Daewon added, seeing an opportunity, include the daughter of an Earth Alliance council member. Earth Central Command is considering options to retrieve them. One of the Vexari officials made a sharp clicking sound. Are you threatening military action, Captain Kim? I am stating facts, Daewon replied calmly. Humans are extremely protective of their young. It is a core aspect of their psychology and culture. Elder Jun nodded. When the Midorian Alliance first encountered humans, we observed them for 10 cycles before making contact. We saw how fiercely they protect their young. It is perhaps their most defining characteristic as a species. The elder moved closer to the Vexari officials. What you have done with good intentions is something that humans consider deeply wrong. You have taken their children and isolated them from each other and their caretakers. In human terms, this is harmful, not helpful. Ambassador, Tislix seemed to be thinking hard. His compound eyes reflected the holographic images still playing in the center of the room. Our protection protocols are designed for Vexari young, he said slowly. Perhaps they are not suitable for human juveniles. Elder Jun nodded. The Vexari Federation has always been known for its wisdom and adaptability. It would be wise to recognize that different species have different needs, especially regarding their young. What would you suggest, Elder Jun? Asked Ambassador Tislix. Return the human juveniles to their caretakers immediately, Elder Jun said firmly. Recognize that human educational practices, while different from Vexari practices, are appropriate for their species. The Vexari officials spoke quietly among themselves for a few minutes. Finally, Ambassador Tislix turned to face Daewon and Sujin. Captain Kim, Officer Park, he said. The Vexari Federation will review this matter with the new information provided by Elder Jun. We will meet again tomorrow to discuss the release of the human juveniles. It wasn't the immediate release Daewon had hoped for, but it was progress. As they left the diplomatic chamber, Sujin turned to Elder Jun. "Thank you for your help, Elder," she said. "But why did you come? Why do the Midorians care about human children?" Elder Jun's ancient eyes seemed to look beyond them. "Let us just say that the Midorian Alliance has a special interest in how spacefaring species treat their young. It tells us much about their potential." Daewon felt there was more to the story, but he was grateful for the help. "Will you join us tomorrow when we meet with the Vexari again?" Elder Jun nodded. "Yes, Captain. The Midorian Alliance will stay until the human children are safe. Some lessons must be learned quickly for everyone's sake." The morning after the Midorian intervention, Captain Daewon Kim was in his quarters on the Harmony. He was speaking with Admiral Kang through a secure communication channel. "The Midorians have been surprisingly helpful," Daewon explained. "Elder Jun showed the Vexari evidence of human protective instincts toward children. It seemed to make an impression." Admiral Kang nodded on the screen. "This is good news. The political situation here is getting worse. Council Member Lee has gathered support from other council members. They are demanding immediate action." "Please ask them to wait one more day," Daewon said. "The Vexari are meeting with us again today. I think they might release the students." "One day," Admiral Kang agreed. "But not longer. The rescue team is in position if needed." After ending the call, Daewon met Sujin in the ship's corridor. They walked together to meet Elder Jun at the docking area. "Did you sleep well?" Sujin asked. Daewon shook his head. "No. I keep thinking about those kids. Minsu is handling it well, but some of the younger ones are really struggling." "I researched the Midorians last night," Sujin said. "There are stories that they once had a terrible war with another ancient species, something to do with how they raised their young. Do you think that's why they're helping us?" Daewon asked. Sujin shrugged. "Maybe, but the records are very old and incomplete." They reached the docking area where Elder Jun was waiting. The Midorian looked calm and rested. "Good morning, Captain." "Kim, Officer Park," Elder Jun greeted them. "Are you ready for today's meeting?" "Yes, Elder," Daewon said. "But I'm not sure what to expect." Elder Jun's star-filled eyes seemed to twinkle. "I believe the Vexari have been thinking deeply about our discussion yesterday. They are intelligent beings. They just need to understand humans better." The three of them walked to the Vexari diplomatic chamber. It was fuller today. Besides Ambassador Tislix and the High Council members, there were several Vexari scientists and care specialists present. Ambassador Tislix stood as they entered. "Captain Kim, Officer Park, Elder Jun, thank you for coming. The Vexari Federation has been considering the information presented yesterday." A Vexari with markings that showed high rank stepped forward. "I am High Director Vaz of the Vexari Protection Authority. We have reviewed the data about human development and protective practices." Daewon felt hope rising. The High Director's tone seemed less rigid than previous Vexari officials. "There is something we need to understand better," High Director Vaz continued. "Our studies show that in most species, including Vexari, the protective instinct for offspring is primarily a female biological response. Yet the data from Elder Jun shows that all humans, regardless of gender, display this protective response. Can you explain this?" Elder Jun looked to Sujin, who nodded and stepped forward. "That is correct," Sujin said. "In humans, the drive to protect children is not limited to biological parents or females. All adult humans have a strong instinct to protect any child, even those not related to them." Sujin took out her data pad and shared some images with the Vexari display system. It showed human brain scans. "When a human sees a child in danger, these areas of the brain activate," she explained, pointing to colored areas on the scan. "It happens in males and females, parents and non-parents. It is a species-wide trait." High Director Vaz made a thoughtful clicking sound. "This is very unusual in our experience." Elder Jun nodded. "Humans evolved differently from Vexari. Their young require care from the entire social group, not just the biological parents. A Vexari scientist moved forward. We have been monitoring the human juveniles. They show increasing signs of distress despite excellent physical care. Our normal comfort measures are not working. That's because human children need social contact, Daewon explained. Keeping them isolated from each other and their teachers causes psychological harm, even if their physical needs are met. Ambassador Tislix looked troubled. This was not our intent. We truly believed we were providing optimal care. We understand that, Daewon said. This is a cultural misunderstanding, not malice. Elder June moved to the center of the room. The ancient Midorian seemed to command attention without effort. There is something else the Vexari should understand about humans, Elder June said. When most spacefaring species evolved, offspring protection was primarily a biological imperative, but humans developed complex social structures around child rearing. The elder waved a hand and new images appeared. They showed human schools, playgrounds, and families. Human education systems balance protection with exploration, Elder Jun continued. Their young learn through controlled exposure to new experiences. The students on your educational vessel were not in danger. They were engaged in a highly valued learning experience. A female Vexari with the markings of a care specialist spoke up. How can we know what is appropriate protection for a species different from our own? Sujin saw an opportunity. That's an excellent question. The answer is to ask and learn, rather than assume. If you had concerns about the human students, you could have discussed them with us before taking action. Several Vexari made sounds of agreement. High Director Vaz turned to Ambassador Tislix. Perhaps our protective protocols should be more flexible when dealing with other species. Ambassador Tislix nodded. I believe you are right. He turned to face Daewon, Sujin, and Elder Jun. The Vexari Federation apologizes for this misunderstanding. We acted according to our customs and beliefs, but we now see that they do not apply well to humans. Daewon felt a wave of relief. Does this mean you will release the students? Yes, High Director Vaz said. We will begin the release process immediately. The students can return to their educational vessel today. Sujin stepped forward. Thank you. This is the right decision. Elder June looked pleased. The Vexari Federation shows wisdom in reconsidering their position. As the meeting ended and they left the chamber, Daewon turned to Elder June. Thank you for your help. I don't think we could have resolved this so quickly without you. Elder June's ancient eyes seemed to look into the distance. Long ago, the Midorian Alliance made a similar mistake with another species. We did not understand their child-rearing practices and tried to impose our own. The results were catastrophic. Sujin looked surprised. Is that why you came to help us? Elder Jun nodded. We watch young spacefaring species closely. How they treat their young and how they react when their young are threatened tells us much about them. What does this situation tell you about humans? Daewon asked. That you are fierce protectors but also capable of diplomatic solutions, Elder Jun said. Both traits are valuable. They reached the area where the students were being held. Already, Vexari care specialists were bringing the young humans out of their separate rooms. There were cries of joy as friends saw each other for the first time in days. Min-Soo Lee spotted Captain Daewon and ran over to him. Captain Kim, they said we can go home, is it true? Daewon smiled. Yes, Min-Soo. You'll all be back on the bright future today. Min-Soo noticed Elder Jun standing nearby. Who is this? This is Elder Jun of the Midorian Alliance, Daewon explained. The Elder helped convince the Vexari to release you. Min-Soo bowed politely to the small alien. Thank you, Elder Jun. Elder Jun studied the human teenager with interest. You are welcome, young human. I understand you were taking notes during your stay here? Min-Soo looked surprised. Yes, for my xenopolitical studies project. How did you know? The Midorians have been observing humans for a long time, Elder Jun said with a small smile. Your curiosity and desire to learn even in difficult situations is a trait we find Promising. As they watched the happy reunions of students and teachers, Daiwan turned to Sujin. We should contact Admiral Kang and tell him the good news. No. Rescue mission will be needed. Sujin nodded. Yes, and we should thank the Midorians properly for their help. Daiwan looked at Elder Jun, who was now talking with several of the students. I think we have a lot to learn from the Midorians, and they seem interested in learning about us too. A good exchange, Sujin agreed. Learning from each other is always better than misunderstanding. 2 days after the release of the human students, Captain Daewon Kim stood in the docking bay of the Earthship Harmony. He watched as the students and their teachers boarded the education vessel Bright Future. They were finally going home. Ambassador Tislix of the Vexari Federation was there too. The blue-skinned alien seemed uncomfortable, his forearms moving nervously. Captain Kim, Tislix said, I wish to formally apologize again for this misunderstanding. The Vexari Federation has already begun updating our protocols for dealing with other species. Daewon nodded. Thank you, Ambassador. I believe we have all learned important lessons from this experience. First Officer Sujin Park approached them, holding a data pad. The Bright Future reports all students are on board and accounted for. They are ready to depart when we are. Daewon looked across the docking bay. Elder Jun of the Midorian Alliance stood watching the proceedings, those ancient star-filled eyes taking in everything. Will the Midorian vessel be traveling with us? Daewon asked. Sujin checked her data pad. No, Elder Jun plans to stay behind for further discussions with the Vexari High Council. This surprised Daewon. Further discussions? About what? I believe, Ambassador Tislix said carefully, that Elder Jun wishes to share more information about dealing with various species and their young. The Midorians have offered to update our cultural database. As they talked, 16-year-old Min-Soo Lee approached them. The teenager looked remarkably composed for someone who had spent 4 days in alien protective custody. Captain Kim, she said with a polite bow, I wanted to thank you before we leave. Daewon smiled at her. You should be thanking Elder Jun. Without the Midorian intervention, this might have ended very differently. Min-Soo nodded. I already thanked Elder Jun, but I also wanted to thank you and Officer Park for your efforts. She held up a small data device. I've been taking detailed notes for my xenopolitical studies thesis. This experience has given me so much material. Daewon was impressed by her attitude. I'm amazed at how well you've handled this situation, Min-Soo. The teenager shrugged. The Vexari detention centers were actually quite comfortable, just lonely. And it was obvious they were trying to protect us, even if they were completely wrong about what we needed. She turned to Ambassador Tislix. I learned a lot about Vexari culture during my stay. Did you know that Vexari children are not exposed to any non-family members until they're nearly 20 Earth years old? Tislix's compound eyes widened in surprise. That is correct. How did you learn this? My Vexari caretaker told me when I asked about her own children, Min-Soo explained. Once I understood that, your reaction to our educational voyage made more sense. Sujin looked impressed. You'll make an excellent diplomat someday, Min-Soo. A voice called from the Bright Future's entrance. Min-Soo, time to board. Min-Soo gave one final bow to the group. I should go. My father will be very happy to see me when we return to Earth. As she walked away, Ambassador Tislix turned to Daewon. Her father is the council member you mentioned? Yes, Daewon replied. Council member Lee is quite influential in the Earth Alliance. Tislix made a nervous clicking sound. We are fortunate this ended peacefully. After Min-Soo boarded the Bright Future, Daewon approached Elder Jun, who stood quietly observing everything. Elder Jun, Daewon said with respect, I understand you're staying for discussions with the Vexari. The ancient Midorian nodded. Yes, Captain. This incident has presented an opportunity for important lessons. May I ask you something? Daewon said. You mentioned that the Midorians once made a similar mistake with another species. What happened? Elder, Jun's expression grew solemn. 300 cycles ago, The Dravidi Empire made a similar mistake with a human exploration vessel containing families. The Dravidi removed several human children from their parents, believing they were protecting them from the dangers of space travel. Daewon felt cold. I've never heard of the Dravidi Empire. That is because they no longer exist as a unified political entity, Elder June said quietly. The human response was extreme. The Dravidi did not return the children quickly enough. Humans attacked them? Daewon asked, shocked. The humans of that time had different technologies and different diplomatic protocols, Elder June explained. But their protective instinct toward their young was just as strong. The conflict that followed fractured the Dravidi Empire. It never recovered. Daewon was stunned. That's not in our historical records. It was before your people had unified record-keeping, Elder June said. The Midorian Alliance has observed humanity for much longer than humans realize. Sujin joined them, having overheard the conversation. Is that why the Midorians came to help? To prevent a similar conflict? Elder June nodded. Partially. We also came because we respect humanity's potential. You are a young species, but an interesting one. Your balance of fierce protection and diplomatic flexibility is unusual. On the Vexari station, a group of officials approached. Elder June, we are ready for our meeting when you are, one of them said. Elder June turned to Daewon and Sujin. It is time for you to return home. The Vexari have learned an important lesson. So have we all. Thank you again for your help, Daewon said, bowing deeply. Remember, Elder June said, different species have different ways of raising their young, but the instinct to protect is universal. How that protection is expressed, that is what varies. As Daewon and Sujin walked back to the Harmony, Sujin looked thoughtful. Do you think the Vexari will spread the word about human protective instincts? Daewon nodded. I'm sure they will. And that might not be a bad thing. It could prevent similar misunderstandings in the future. Once both Earth ships were ready, they departed Vexari space. In his captain's quarters, Daewon received a private message from Admiral Kang. Well done, Captain, the Admiral said on the screen. Central Command is pleased with the peaceful resolution. The Midorian intervention was unexpected but welcome. Thank you, sir, Daewon replied. I think we've gained a certain reputation among the older species through this incident. Admiral Kang smiled slightly. Not necessarily a bad thing, is it? No, sir, Daewon agreed. Not bad at all. If other species know how seriously we take the protection of our children, it might make them think twice before interfering. After the call ended, Daewon went to the bridge of the Harmony. Sujin was there monitoring their course back to Earth. What are you thinking about? He asked her. Sujin looked up from her station. I was thinking about what Elder June said about the Dravidi Empire, how humanity's response to their children being taken destroyed an entire civilization. Does that worry you? Daewon asked. Sujin shook her head. No, it makes me proud actually. Not of the destruction, but of how deeply we care for our children. It's one of our best qualities as a species. Daewon looked out at the stars as they prepared for the jump home. I agree. And now the galaxy knows it too. Back on the Vexari station, Elder June sat with the Vexari High Council. The Midorian had just finished explaining more about humanity's history and development. You have been fortunate, the Elder told them solemnly. Humanity could have responded very differently. They are capable of extreme measures when their young are threatened. Ambassador Tislix's mandibles clicked nervously. The humans seemed so adaptable, so willing to accommodate our customs. We assumed they would understand our protective measures. That is precisely what makes them dangerous, Elder June said. Humans adapt and accommodate until their core values are threatened. Protection of their young is perhaps their most sacred value. The Vexari High Director nodded slowly. We will update our cultural database and share this information with our allies. No similar mistakes should occur. That evening, as the Earth ships journeyed home, a new entry was added to the galactic database regarding humanity. Species exhibits Extreme protective responses toward juvenile members regardless of biological relation. All member species are advised to respect human educational practices and parental authority structures. Classification updated. Approach with diplomatic caution when juveniles are present. The entry was noted by several spacefaring civilizations. None found it surprising. Humanity's reputation as fierce protectors of their young was spreading throughout the galaxy. It was a reputation that would serve them well in the centuries to come.